Hey everybody, it's Galmadex and welcome back to some Magic Arena. Today we have a turbo draft of the Theros Beyond Death format. Turbo draft is a special format where the generic mana costs on everything is reduced by 5, the generic mana cost being the gray numbered mana symbol in the mana cost of your cards in the top right. So cards like Skophos Warleader, instead of costing a red and 4, it's just going to cost a red mana. However, cards that require multiple colored mana symbols like Fairy's Band Brawler requiring 2 green mana will still cost 2 mana instead of just 1 mana because it does not reduce the color requirements of casting the spell, just the generic mana, just the gray mana symbol there. So in this format, it's pretty important to take high power level, high mana cost cards pretty highly. Cards like Skophos Warleader, your decks will often end up with basically all 1 or 2 mana cards because you just can scoop up everything that only requires 1 mana of its color and cast basically all of that for just 1. So your decks will end up being incredibly fast, incredibly efficient, and you can run a lower land count than normal, somewhere around 12 to 14. You do still want to hit lands turn 1, 2, and 3 pretty frequently. That way you can dump your hand out quickly. So, yeah, cards like Skophos Warleader I think are some of the best first picks to take. It's just a 4/5 for 1. The ability doesn't matter too much, it's just great for its cost. Although Fairy's Band Brawler is an option here as well. It does require 2 mana, so the difference between 1 and 2 mana cards in this format is pretty drastic because ideally, if you're in like green-red, you can have a lot of pretty big creatures like the War Leaders in green. At common, you have like a 5 mana 5/3, so in this format, that's a 1 mana 5/3. So the difference between 1 and 2 mana is like a whole lot because just an average draw for our green-red deck, for 2 mana, we could play a 4/5 and a 4/3. Or we could play a single Fairy's Band Brawler. So the effect on the Fairy's Band Brawler has to be very, very good for it to be worth the 2 mana required to play it. And it is pretty good, but I feel that in this format there will probably be a ton of massive creatures. This probably won't be able to kill a ton of things, although it would still be solid with cards like Klothys' Design as well if we try to do like a big green devotion deck with this card also. Doesn't seem that good. You want to have a ton of creatures out for it to be going off, and you want to have a high devotion to green. And as I said before, cards with multiple mana symbols in their respective colors are just harder to cast, much slower to get out on the board. I think I'm just going to start with Skophos Warleader, but I think the pick is between that and the Fairy's Band Brawler here. And that's certainly a fine choice. Now what do we have? It looks like we don't have much that gets reduced super well here. I guess we have Final Death, which seems pretty great. When you pick up removal in this format, you want it to be removal that can exile basically anything. It needs to be able to get rid of massive creatures, so smaller removal spells and pump spells, things like that, are just nowhere near as exciting. So cards like the red removal spells that just deal a set amount of damage aren't that great. But removal spells like Final Death that can just exile any creature period are pretty great, especially since it's instant speed as well. So I think Final Death will probably be the pick out of this pack. It's definitely better than the Libation since we get to choose what we're exiling. And they are the same mana cost in this format. They are both reduced just as much. Another thing to mention here is that because you are reducing the generic mana costs, any colorless cards like artifacts here will often be completely free. So Thaumaturge's Familiar would be a 0 mana 1/3 flyer that lets you scry 1. That being said, it's very, very low impact. It's basically just 1 trump block in this format because of how big the creatures can be. So I'm not super excited about the Thaumaturge's Familiar. However, there is another artifact at common that I would be very excited to see, probably the best card in the whole format, and that is, I forgot the name of it, Altar of the Pantheons. It's a 3 mana artifact that you can tap to add a mana of any color to your mana pool. So in this format, it's 0 mana for an artifact that taps for mana of any color to your mana pool. So it basically lets you play 2 lands in that turn, one of which can tap for any color. So it lets you just get off the ground running and start playing things way faster than your opponent can. In a format where everything is consistently going to cost only 1 mana, like the War Leader, like the Final Death, an Altar of the Pantheon lets you just go turn 1, play your land for turn, play an Altar, play 2 cards turn 1, and then 3 cards turn 2. If you get an Altar out and you're able to dump your hand and your opponent doesn't get any mana ramp, it'll be very hard for them to come back from that kind of start. So that is one of the best artifacts in the format, probably one of the best cards, period. So out of this pack, not a huge fan of any of these creatures. They're all pretty small. You don't get any cost reduction on the abilities, just on the mana costs. However, if you see an escape cards like Sweet Oblivion here, you do get the cost reduction on the escape ability, because escape is an ability that lets you cast it from your graveyard, and you're getting a cost reduction whenever you cast it. So some escape cards do get quite a big cost reduction and can be pretty good. Sweet Oblivion, not really one of them. The format's going to go so quickly that mill's not too much of a game plan too often. So I think I'm just going to take Nylea's Huntmaster here. It just seems like the best creature for the mana cost, just a 1 mana 4/3. Gives something a little bit of a buff when it comes into play, get a little bit of extra damage in there. It's definitely not Nyxborn Colossus. That is probably just one of the worst cards for this format, because it's a very restrictive mana cost. Same with Warden of the Chained. You need 2 different colors, you need 2 mana total, and it can't attack all the time. And Triumph of an Axe just seems a decent bit too slow for this format. What do we have here? So we do have Wings of Hubris is an equipment I'm mildly interested in. Bronze Sword is really not. Again, any abilities on your cards do still have to be paid for, so spending 3 mana to give a single creature +2/+0 is an incredibly weak mana sink in the late game in comparison to some of the other things you could do. And Wings of Hubris, you only have to spend the 1 mana to equip it, and you can give things flying, and in this format it's just going to be a lot of big dorky creatures like our 4/5s and 4/3s and stuff, so flying could be a good ability to give. That being said, we do have some other fun cards here. I think the most fun card that I'm seeing is really just like Hydra's Growth, but again, somewhat of a slow ability, might not be worth it for this format, but it does seem a bit more fun than the Wings to me. But Wings we could also play no matter what colors we end up in, and right now we only have 1 card in each color. Yeah, Hydra's Growth might be slow enough that I just scoop up a Wings here. Stay open to wherever we see the best, biggest cards. This pack looks pretty weak. Whirlwind Denial is probably a pretty good counterspell. You only have to spend 1 mana on it and counter something unless they pay 4. Most of the decks in this format will have a pretty low land count, and the games will end quick enough that they're unlikely to have 4 extra mana when they cast something. So that seems fine. Getting some card draw is very important in this format as well. Because everything only costs 1 mana, you dump your hand out very quickly, so you need to be able to refuel pretty early in the game. So cards like Thrill of Possibility seem pretty great. Obviously any lands after your 3rd or 4th are pretty useless, so discarding those to draw 2 other cards is not that much of a cost, so it's kind of just a 2 mana draw 2 in the right spot. Yeah, I think I like Thrill of Possibility here, but other than that, Loathsome Chimera seems pretty decent, and Farrakhan's Libation's okay. Even though you don't get to choose what creature you're killing, the creatures in this format will generally be all relatively big things. A lot of people do like playing Thaumaturge's Familiar, though, and that card really blanks your Farrakhan's Libation, because now they're just sacrificing their little 1/3 instead of something good. So it's bad in matchups against the Thaumaturge's Familiar, but in other matches it could be alright, could be solid. Well, none of our green or red looks good here, and Axe just costs double red, so that's pretty hard to justify. Because 2 mana for a creature that only has 3 toughness and probably not that much power is just much worse than 1 mana for a 4/5, which is what we're aiming for here. The Unicorn's probably the best creature in the pack, just a 1 mana 4/4. Brine Giant's a 2 mana 5/6. Yeah, I think we're just gonna keep staying open here. We're not really committed to anything. We don't have any like exceptionally powerful cards in any colors. Well, pretty happy to see a Rage-Scarred Berserker here. That does commit us to black a little more. Maybe we're looking towards black-red here. Thrill of Possibility, Skophos Warleader in red, Final Death, and Rage-Scarred Berserker in black. I do like keeping my decks in Turbo Draft to just 2 colors, maybe splashing in a third. Pretty similar to a regular draft format because while technically you don't have a lot of cards that require 2 mana of a specific color, so it's not as difficult to get the right colors of mana at the right time. Because everything's so cheap and the format is so about curving out really aggressively, you need to make sure that you always have the right colors of mana like immediately. So going to 3 or 4 colors, if you're stuck off of one of your colors just for like 1 turn, it can be a big downside and really slow you down. So I still like sticking to just like 2 colors so you can consistently just have the right colors very, very early in the game. I think Captivating Unicorn's the best card here, but Rapid Flames is interesting. I am sure there will be some games that go to board stalls between decks with just a bunch of big chunky creatures, and Rapid Flames shuts off 3 of their blockers. That can often let you get in for like 9 damage minimum. Like if we just have a Rage-Scarred Berserker and Warleader out, that's 9 damage right there if we shut off all their blockers. So that could be an option here. We already have 1 Unicorn, we can take a second one in case white seems a little more open here. There's another Rapid Flames. We might take that here. It's that or a 2/3. I suppose this is a 3/4 if we have another big creature out. Doesn't seem exceptional. Bounce effects seem pretty bad in this format because you're not really costing your opponent anything by bouncing something unless you bounce it at like a tricky time when they're trying to double block. If you're just bouncing something to slow them down, you barely slow them down because everything's so cheap. They can just recast it for 1 and still cast everything else they wanted to play that turn. Clothis' design, maybe. Green's definitely the least likely of the 4 colors we've started drafting here. I think I'll just take a Rapid Flames maybe. Try that out. Yeah, some pretty bad stuff. Definitely not Rumbling Sentry, because you gotta spend 2 on that. It's just a 3/6. Guess I'll take the hero, just a 1 mana 3/2. One of our least exciting creatures. Take a Triumph of Anax over the double cost spells and the Mill card, because Mill will just be too slow for this format. Take another Rapid Flames. I guess we've got some ways to try to just shut off blocks and get in a cheeky final few damage. Double red is a hard sell on the Nyxborn Brute, but I could see still running it. Yeah, we're like guaranteed red at this point, so I will take a Nyxborn Brute. Ooh, Heroes of the Revel is a pretty great card to open up, although there is an Altar of the Pantheon. This is going to be a difficult pick here, because the bots in this format, they draft like any other Theros draft, so you really don't know for sure whether or not Altar of the Pantheon will wheel, but it's not like guaranteed that it won't wheel, because the bots aren't like, oh, Altar of the Pantheon, this is just the best card in the format, whereas the human drafters obviously do see that. So the pick's between these two, and it's a hard pick. I think because we don't have like any Altar of the Pantheons yet, maybe we're supposed to just take it and get it guaranteed, because missing out on an altar is really rough, because it is so good. I don't know, I think I'm going to get a little bold here, and we'll see how the bots draft. I'm hoping we can wheel that Altar of the Pantheon. If this was just a normal Theros Beyond Death draft, I would absolutely expect to wheel the altar, but I don't really know how the bots draft for certain. But I know that they're the same bots that they used in just regular Theros drafts. We'll see if that altar wheels. May have been a bit of a bold choice in not just scooping it up there, but I think that Heroes of the Revel is also just an exceptionally powerful card, although not quite as good as the altar. 1 mana for a 4/4 and a 1/1, and if you target the heroes with anything, you give the whole field +1. It seems pretty good. It works with Rapid Flames. You can target your own creature with this, so you can shut off 2 of their blockers and give your whole field +1. So it's an interesting combo with cards like that. And I think with generally creatures being so big in this format, cards like Portent of Betrayal could actually be pretty decent. They get a blocker out of the way, add it to your field as another attacker. And in red, we are going to be taking basically every Scophos War Leader that we see, and the Scophos War Leader has an ability to sacrifice creatures. So if we draw Portent later in the game, say we have, 3 or 4 mana, if we have double red, we can steal one of their cards and sacrifice one with the War Leader, even if we don't immediately deal lethal damage to our opponent. So I like Portent of Betrayal a lot here. Don't really like Omen of the Forge, as I said before, nothing really small enough for that to kill, although you can stack it up. You can block something with a smaller creature and then do an extra couple damage there. That's an option. So, we could be in black-red here or white-red here, that seems most likely. I think Enemy of Enlightenment seems solid. We definitely can't cast this on the first couple turns because it will just die immediately, but this is a format, as I said before, where everything's so cheap, everybody is dumping out their hands pretty quickly, so it's not that hard for this to become like a 4/4 or 5/5 flyer, and for a single mana, that's not bad at all. I think I like that here. Aspect of Lamprey seems alright here as well. It is a format where creatures are pretty massive, so lifelink's a pretty big swing, and you get to discard 2 cards from your opponent's hand. Obviously much better in the early game than late game, but at the right time that card can be pretty solid. I'm just going to take an enemy here though. And I like a Rage-Scarred Berserker out of this pack. I like that better than the Maze Warden. Abilities don't get any reductions, and this is a 1 mana 5/4. It also lets you get in for an attack if there is a board stall going on. If you both have a bunch of 4/5s or something, giving one of your creatures +1 and indestructible lets you break in, kill one of their creatures, or hit them for 5 for a turn, so that seems really solid. Now, I guess we could try out an Aspect of Lamprey, but Aspect of Manticore might be alright here too. Whenever they try to make a trade, you do just get to eat their creature, and then you get a permanent little +2 power buff. That could be okay. I think I like Aspect a little better for that discard effect, plus it's giving that permanent lifelink, so it seems pretty solid. There's another Scophos War Leader. I am taking it over a Thrill of Possibility, which is a little rough because you do want the card draw. Card draw is definitely good. That being said, I think that this card is just quite good, and it's an incredible combo with Portents, so I'm still pretty happy to pick one up here. Now, Reverent Revelers might not be completely unplayable, whereas most of the rest of this pack is. And the reason is because this can destroy artifacts when it comes into play, so it can destroy their altar. This is going to be one of the first cards we're going to want to cut. But if we get stuck having to run it, it won't be the end of the world. Definitely prefer Farrakha's Libation over that, though. That is a pretty good pickup here. And we did wheel the Altar of the Pantheon, so pretty happy to have taken the Heroes of the Revel there. And here's a Scavenging Harpy or a Nyxborn Marauder. 2 mana for a 4/3 or 1 mana for a 2/1 flyer. I think the 1 mana 2/1 flyer seems better. Unknown Shores is pretty bad unless you're 4 colors. Simply because, as I said before, when everything costs 1 mana, taking a single turn off from playing something is really rough. So having a land that comes in and only adds colorless mana, or a land that comes in tapped, is a really, really hard sell when everything costs 1 mana, so you have to take a turn off to play your Unknown Shores. Or if you play this on turn 2 or turn 3, instead of playing 2 or 3 spells that turn, you're only playing 1, because one of your lands is producing colorless. So it seems pretty bad, but the rest of these cards are pretty bad too. So, nothing much here. I'll just throw that in the sideboard. But I'm not very excited about potentially running that. We could potentially run a Thaumaturge's Familiar. 0 mana, 1/3, scry 1. Dumps itself onto the board pretty easily, and then if we have anything that sacrifices stuff, like War Leaders or something, we can do that. We can sacrifice that thing. Elite Instructor is definitely better than Sweet Oblivion here. Actually seems like not the worst, because it is a little bit of draw power, allowing you to draw 1, then discard 1. Good if you're ever getting flooded out. We got that Thrill of Possibility last pick. I'm very happy to see that really paid off there. Ooh, Treacherous Blessing. 1 mana to draw 3 cards. Whenever you cast a spell, you lose life. That is a bit rough, but the life swings in this game are pretty massive. Attacks are often for, 5 to 15 damage very early in the game, so I don't expect stacking on a bunch of 1 life loss is going to matter that much when the games go this fast, especially because we can just cast this and then dump several things out. Yeah, this seems great. I think I'm going to scoop up a Treacherous Blessing here. Anything we'd like to wheel? Maybe a Rapid Flames, Dreamstalker Manticore, 1 mana 4/2. Maybe Wings of Hubris, I don't know. But I think Treacherous Blessing seems like the best card for us here. Seems pretty great. Unfortunately, as cool as Elspeth's Nightmare is, I don't think it's good in this format because you can only destroy creatures with power 2 or less. That is very few of the creatures in this format. If your opponent's playing like the Thaumaturgist Familiar as you do, potentially kill something there, then you maybe get a removal spell out of their hand. I don't know, it does not seem great here. Each non-land card in your grave has escaped. The escape cost is equal to the mana cost, and exile 3 other cards from your grave. This could be powerful late game draw, but we need a lot of cards in our graveyard to go off with this. That being said, it's between this and Iroas's Blessing, and I'm not sure how many creatures Iroas's Blessing is going to be able to kill, only doing 4 damage. I feel like that should still hit a decent few, like it hits 5/4s and 5/3s in green. I think I'm going to take Iroas's Blessing over Underworld Breach, but if Underworld Breach wheels, I might be interested in trying that out. In the Turbo Draft format, you are keeping everything that you draft, much like a regular Theros Beyond Death quick draft, so there's also the potential to rare draft if you are just looking for Underworld Breach or something there. So this is actually another interesting pick here. It's not just an auto slam a Portent of Betrayal. Portent Betrayal, as I said before, because creatures are good and we have a couple sacrifice outlets, should be nice. But Furious Rise as a draw engine could be good. At the beginning of your end step, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, exile the top card of your library, and you can cast it until you exile another card with Furious Rise. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... 7 cards to combo with that right now. I guess Portent is probably slightly likelier to wheel. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's not very likely though. We already have 3 Thrill of Possibility and Treacherous Blessing for card draw, and all of those are more consistent. They will just always draw something. Furious Rise, we have to have a creature still on the field. So if our opponent has a ton of removal, or if we've traded stuff off, we won't be drawing off of it, although it is a consistent draw engine. If we have a creature out, it is drawing us a card every single turn. I think I am going to take the Portent, though. I think we have a decent amount of card draw, even if they are just one-time spells. A lot of very low impact cards here. I guess I go with Nyxborn Brute, but I'm not super happy with the double red cost on it. But it is still another big creature, so it's probably fine. Another Revelers, maybe blow up some Altar of the Pantheons. It's that or a Soul Reaper of Mogis. It does cost quite a bit, and you have to sack a creature. You have to spend 3 mana to sack something. We do get like a 1/1 token at some point with Heroes of the Revel, and Revelers doesn't seem awesome. I'll try out a Soul Reaper. Well, we're going to take an Altar of the Pantheon here. It is pick 7, so it's impossible for this to wheel. If we don't take it now, all of these cards will be gone. There are 8 drafters in every draft pod, so we have to scoop up an Altar here, which is a little unfortunate because another Thrill would be nice. I mean, 4 Thrill Possibility to just have a lot of card draw in this deck, or just a decent like Maze Warden style creature would be okay. And I guess I'm taking a decent Maze Warden type creature out of this pack. I don't really know if I want like 3 Rapid Flames. Underworld Ragehound might be interesting. If it wasn't forced to attack, it might be okay, but the fact that it is forced to attack, this is often just sending into 4 or 5 toughness creatures, because they all just cost 1 mana. It does not take long for your opponent to get a creature that can block this. They can just get a creature bigger than this on turn 1. Yeah, but I am mildly interested in the escape cost, because it only costs 1 red mana to do that. Rapid Flames or Thaumaturgist Familiar? Not very high on the Thaumaturge's Familiar, but I still haven't tried the whole Wrap in Flames for lethal thing, so I don't know about running 3 of them. Like 2 is enough to try it out. I think we'll scoop up a Thaumaturge. Well, we get another Wrap in Flames anyway, so we could try out triple Wrap. And the Underworld, Escape from the Underworld? Underworld Breach, that's what it's called. That's what it's called. I can't speak now. It happens. Every video, multiple times. At some point, my brain just dies. Underworld Breach did not wheel, so we don't get to try that out as a late game draw engine. Okay, so we have 2 Altar of the Pantheon and 17 lands right now. Definitely overkill. We only have 2 cards in our whole deck that cost 2 mana. Everything else costs 1, as you can tell by the amount of colored mana symbols in the mana costs. The colorless cards are 0 mana, so if we wanted to sort out by mana costs, which is kind of funny to do in this format, then it would just be like this. There you go. Here's our mana sources. Here's our 0 mana cards. Here's our 1 mana cards and our 2 mana cards. I accidentally cut a Thrill of Possibility. Let's put that back in there. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my Parallax Styles, get rid of a bunch of lands, and a few of our smallest creatures, I think. So I'm going to click Done and then go back in there so that it sorts it back out like this, so I can see the actual mana costs rather than what we're casting them for, so I can start cutting from the bottom to the top, because generally the cheaper cards are going to be the weaker ones, like Oread here. Good ability to keep drawing in the late game. If we were very low on card draw, I would be kind of interested in it, but we're not. We have 3 Thrill of Possibility, and we have the Treacherous Blessing, so we're not doing poorly there. Triumph of an Axe does seem pretty slow to me. And the Irreverent Revelers kind of depends on what our opponent's playing. Even when they have altars, by the time we're blowing it up with this, they'll at least have cast, 2 spells turn 1. They'll still have gotten some value off of it, so it's not insane to be able to blow up an Altar of the Pantheon. That being said, it's probably marginally better than just a 3-2. Sure, 1 less power, but a 3-2 and a 2-2, neither of those are likely to be big enough to do much. Scavenging Harpy's pretty small. Soul Reaper's pretty small. Wrap in Flames is only good in specific situations, but can win the game out of nowhere. Okay, so what are we going to do here? We have 19 mana sources right now. We probably only need like 13, 14. So we definitely cut at least like 5 lands. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 12 lands and 2 altars. Yeah, we only have 2 2-mana cards, so I'm okay with cutting even a couple more lands here. We have 20 red cards and 9 black cards, so I think I'll cut another Swamp. Maybe just the 1 more, go with 13 mana. Now we need to cut 5 cards. I kind of like cutting Triumph of an Axe, just seems very slow. But Trample could be nice, I don't know. And then 4 more. Maybe get rid of the Revelers and the Hero, and then between Oread and Soul Reaper, probably one of the random little draw abilities in the late game. I guess the Soul Reaper can cycle itself, like it can chump block and then discard itself to draw. The Oread does get us out of Mana Flood, though. I don't know, I'll take a Soul Reaper out. And here is the deck. Our first Theros Beyond Death Turbo Draft. Pretty likely to be the only one. This is a pretty crazy kind of format. Pretty fun to try it out just like once or twice, but not the kind of thing that's like super awesome to like really deep dive into. Kind of similar to Omniscience Draft in that way. See how things go here. I also do have a variety of limited formats on my plate in the near future, so unlikely to do too many of these. Probably just 1 or 2 of these videos. because I am going to be doing an Eldraine draft. I got a request for that, and then we still got to do a couple more cubes before the launch of Strixhaven, and Strixhaven's only a few days away, so let's see what we've got here in our opener. We've got an Altar, Thrill of Possibility to discard our second land. We dump the whole hand out here, really? Yeah, depending on what we draw off of Thrill, this could be pretty good. Our opponent is going first, though, so we'll get to see what they drop before we do anything. Thaumaturge's Familiar. And they are on blue, dropping down a Witness of Tomorrows, a 3/4 flyer. Definitely have enough lands to use a Thrill of Possibility. Let's get our Altar out. I think I want to Thrill before I cast War Leader, and I'll use my red mana to do that, so Altar can cast anything that I want. Yeah, Heroes of the Revel seems like a little bit of a better play this turn than the War Leader. Get another creature out of it. And we'll see what we scry into. Portent of Betrayal. Well, we've got a War Leader in hand to combo with that. That actually would make me prefer to have cast the War Leader, so I suppose I should scry with Familiar before casting there. So a bit of a misplay there. If we scryed with Familiar first, we could plan our next turn more accordingly. Because we do want triple red mana. If we want to War Leader still steal something and sacrifice it next turn and we don't have triple red. So if we just had War Leader out this turn, we could immediately do the Portent play next. So they're on blue-green and they have their mana up. That makes me feel as though they likely have something instant speed here. Potentially a counterspell for my War Leader. It's not awesome. I'm not going to Portent here, it's just for 3 more damage, so I'm not going to Portent unless I can kill something with War Leader. War Leader's likely to get countered. I don't need to hold up a blocker here, I have nothing that's going to block well. I guess I can throw wings onto heroes and just hold up blocks, but I think I get in for more damage than they do, so I'm pretty fine where I'm at. Yeah, we're fine to race here. See what they've got going on. So again, I don't have to race, I could also just throw wings onto the heroes. If I'm worried about a War Leader getting countered, then we just go for the War Leader main phase if we're trying to play super defensively, and if it does get countered, we can throw wings onto heroes. If it doesn't, then we can just throw the wings onto the War Leader. I'm going to play a land here, in case it's like a mana taxing kind of counterspell, but I don't think it will be. Let's see. I'm pretty sure it's just going to be a counter creature and then exile it if they have a counterspell, and it looks like they don't have a counterspell here, so we do get to go ahead and equip our War Leader and have a big old flying blocker, although this does leave it as the biggest target for removal. Not a massive fan of that. Return to nature. Interesting, go ahead and just destroy the wings then. Alright. Return to nature, definitely not unplayable in this turbo draft format. You can blow up altars with it, you can get rid of escape cards with it. You can kill large enchantment creatures like our 2 mana 7/3s that we have in this deck. Well, if they don't have any counterspells, we have our powerful Portent of Betrayal play next turn. We didn't see a counterspell from them on our Skophos War Leader last turn, so I expect if they have something that can counter the Portent, it would be something that something that can only counter non-creature spells. I don't actually know what I want to steal now, because now I could steal an Enemy of Enlightenment. If I steal Enemy of Enlightenment, -1/-1 for each card in your opponent's hand, so I steal it and then it's a 4/4, and then I just sacrifice it after it attacks. Yeah, I think a 4/4 seems like a better attacker here. Let's go ahead and portent that. Ooh, Final Death. We'll keep that on top. Seems like a fine draw. Get some more blockers out of the way. They have a 3/4, a 2/2, and a 1/3, so they could trade into the War Leader if they double block it. And I can only sacrifice one creature here, so I just sacrifice an enemy and kill one thing. But then I'd kill Witness, I'd kill their enemy. I still have heroes if they do the double block onto War Leader, so I think we're fine to make this attack. Alright, they're going to go for the kill on the Heroes of the Revel instead. Sure, we'll kill the biggest flyer. Also the one that can consistently scry for them. Now we'll go ahead and kill their Enemy of Enlightenment as well. And pass the turn, holding on to the land because we do have 3 Thrill of Possibilities in this deck, so we still have 2 left. We also have an Oread in case of needing the land to discard if we draw into the Oread. They only have 3 power out, so I think we just send in the War Leader. They're down to 4 now. Drop our Maze Warden. That ability allows us to give it +1/-1 till end of turn for 1 mana, so we can push that to 4 power if it does not get blocked. There's the counter spell, so that will get stopped. But our War Leader's still on the board. If they don't put another creature out, we could potentially kill one of their creatures with Final Death and then give War Leader Menace by sacrificing our 1/1. That would be a way to push an immediate lethal, but it's not necessary. It's a little risky. I mean, if they just have a single card in their hand at this point, I might consider it. Okay, well, if they have no cards in hand, then we'll definitely do it, because we know that they're not going to like play some big bomby card next turn. So one thing I forgot to mention during the draft process, X mana abilities are getting cost reduced by 5 mana, so X is automatically going to be 5. So for double green, you get 5 lands with Nylea's Intervention. If you spend 2 extra mana into it like they did, you're getting 7 lands. So some kind of nice draw in the late game. You really don't need lands in the late game, but it digs them out of your deck, so you're less likely to draw them later. So pretty interesting for that concept. So we are 1-0 to start off our Theros Beyond Death Turbo Draft. This is a very crazy, very swingy format, for sure. I think that blue... I was going to say I think blue's one of the weakest colors, but that's really just its creatures. Blue doesn't have a lot of good like common, uncommon creatures that are going to be like big for 1 mana. And I feel like most of the other colors do. Like in white, there's 1 mana 4/4s, and red, there's the 1 mana 4/5s that we have. I think I have to mulligan this. This looks pretty bad. We just have portents to play. We can't play any of these. Even if we do draw black mana, if we draw swamps or altars, these aren't great, because enemy we have to wait a bit. These are small cards. Yeah, I'm going to mulligan here. And I think I'll keep this one. We've got the altar turn 1. So we could cast 2 things turn 1, although we don't really want to. We just play War Leader and hold up Libation. We're definitely keeping the altar so that we have black mana available. We don't have a ton of creatures in this deck, so these are the kind of hands that we're going to expect, just because we have cut a bunch of our small, mediocre creatures to where we mostly just have our 4/5s and 5/4 type cards. Rage Scarred Berserker coming out, sure. Probably going to kill that with an Iroas's Blessing, because it's small enough toughness that we can actually do that. Whereas Libation can kill things that are bigger if they only have one creature out. They can kill 5 toughness things like Scophos War Leader. Does combo poorly if they have instant speed removal. If they have Furious Rise here, if I let them go to their end step, they draw a card off of that, so I think I'm going to just stop that here. I guess I could also just kill the Furious Rise. We kill the Furious Rise, then we kill the Rage Scarred Berserker with Blessing, but then we don't have anything to deal with whatever they play next, but I think it's important to stop them from drawing cards here, so I'll just kill that card itself. And another War Leader is a great draw. Just got a nice aggressive start going. Although our opponent still has 4 cards to play around with. 5 now that they've drawn per turn. Looks like they are also on black-red. Definitely a good color pair. It gives you some of the better removal for the format. Removal that can kill creatures no matter how big they are, like Farrakha's Libation and Final Death. And of course, red gives you the War Leaders, Portents, Iroas's Blessing. Some good stuff there as well. As well as a little bit of card draw. Thrill of Possibility in red. The black draw spell Funeral Rites, I believe it's called. We didn't get any of that, but it is a possibility. What just happened there? They stole... Oh, enchant creature you control. So as soon as I don't control it, Iroas's Blessing falls off. So do they just not get to get in for any damage here? Unless they have another sack outlet. Well, Rage Scarred Berserker does give the additional power. So if I block, I lose a creature, so we're not going to block. Alright, that was weird. That was a strange interaction I don't think I've seen yet. Because Iroas's Blessing specifically enchants a creature you control, it does fall off when you steal it. And they do have the Final Flare to go with the Portent, unfortunately. That may just end us if we don't draw another creature, because we don't have a way to get rid of the Berserker, so we're on a 3-turn clock here. See what we get into here. Just another land. I'm going to hold on to that in case I draw a Thrill of Possibility, so I can spend a red, discard the Swamp, draw 2, have 1 mana of any color up. Although we may just discard a Rapid Flames if we draw Thrill. And that's just going to be game. That is 3 swings from the Rage Scarred Berserker. That'll end it. It's definitely how things turn around quite quickly in this format. So we are 1-1 now. So I don't remember if I had enough mana up to sacrifice my War Leader to my other War Leader in response to their Portent. Even if I did, I don't think it's the line because we haven't seen that they have anything that can immediately sacrifice it. Obviously we just get absolutely demolished by Final Flare if they have the Final Flare. But without it, it's like they just hit us for some damage and give our thing back. That is a possibility. This hand seems pretty great. We do need black mana for Treacherous Blessing. But we have a lot of card draw here. Obviously our creatures aren't great, but when we draw 5 cards deep, we can search for them. Brine Giant turn 1 from our opponent, nice 5/6. We have drawn the black mana thanks to Altar the Pantheon. We definitely want to cast Treacherous Blessing after other stuff because we lose life when we play it. So I think I'm going to Thaumaturge's Familiar first, see what we have on top here. Iroas's Blessing. They have a 5/6. I think I still want to draw that card, but it's not going to kill a Brine Giant. It would kill like the unicorns that are 4/4s that white has access to. Yeah, I think I still want to draw that. Although, yeah, it's not good right now, and we kind of need to get something right now to deal with a Brine Giant. Yeah. Throw it on bottom here. Thrill of Possibility, discard a mountain. If we draw a good creature to cast, we'll cast it off of altar, otherwise we'll just cast Treacherous Blessing. Did draw Heroes of the Revel. Do I prefer to play Heroes of the Revel or just Treacherous Blessing here? I think I just cast Heroes of the Revel. If they come at me with a Brine Giant, then I can start cracking back with my field. With Rapid Flames, I can shut off 2 of their blockers and give our whole field +1/+0 with Heroes of the Revel's effect. They do just have Banishing Light for Heroes of the Revel, though. And another Altar of the Pantheon. And we take 5 here. I think I'll just chump block with the Thaumaturge's Familiar later if I need to. Another Thrill of Possibility. Well, we'll do that before we do Treacherous Blessing yet again. Drawn to an Enemy of Enlightenment. They only have 3 cards in hand, so enemy will be a 2/2. As soon as they draw a card, it'll be a 1/1, so it does get pretty small here. I think I do want a Treacherous Blessing instead. Rage-Scarred Berserker, Portent of Betrayal, Thrill of Possibility. Oh yeah, we're potentially going off here. If I have a 5/4 and a 1/3, I could double block Brine Giant to kill it. So I could play Berserker here and send in my creature that can't block anyway for a little bit of damage. Yeah, if we double block here and they don't have any instant speed removal or combat tricks, we get to kill Brine Giant at the cost of only 1 of our blockers, so we just lose our 5/4. Yeah, so they don't attack in for that reason. Cast a Thrill of Possibility here. Discard the black mana because we have some things that cost double red, but nothing that costs double black. We also have more red spells than black spells. Scavenging Harpy and Rapid Flames. They have nothing engraved for the Harpy, but it could get some flying attackers out on the board. Portent can steal Brine Giant. I hit for 10, 11, 12. It's not lethal. Do I hold on to this land to play around with Enemy of Enlightenment here? Yeah, I think I just play some flyers here. I'll play Scavenging Harpy first, so that if they have a counterspell, they might use it on that. I don't think I'm attacking in this turn. They do have a counterspell, and they do use it on that, so they can get their Scry out of the way. That is all of their blue mana knocked out, which means Enemy of Enlightenment is pretty guaranteed to resolve. Scry 2 to the top, not a fan of that. That could mean that they immediately have removal coming up, or just anything decent here. I'm not going to attack in, because I think if they have removal, they'll probably kill the Enemy of Enlightenment, and then if I attack in for 1 with Thaumaturge's Familiar, I can't block Brine Giant anymore. Oh, maybe it's just a Daybreak Chimera there. Everybody discards a card, I'll discard my land. Double Rapid Flames just makes my stuff completely unblockable 2 turns in a row, so that seems big. We do draw another land anyway. So we can discard that to the enemy next turn. 9, 10, 11 on board. Don't have anything to sacrifice if I Portent, but I still get a lot of damage in. I think I'll just attack with the enemy in the sky here. Next turn we're pretty likely to be able to push in lethal. Still worried about like leaving as many blockers as I can, because I'm pretty low on life and I do have to spend life to cast anything with Treacherous Blessing. 9, 10, 11 on board. With Portent, we have lethal if we Portent in Rapid Flames. Ooh. Alright, so they have tapped out. Oh, and enemy just dies when I draw a card. So, since they're tapped out, we know we have lethal here. Oh no, my enemy makes me discard a card in my upkeep, so enemy is going to be a 1/1, but we kill it with a Wrap in Flames. Yeah, Portent Wrap in Flames is enough. I'll just discard a land here. So Wrap in Flames, kill that. These can't block. Or actually, I have to cast it to do that, so technically not killing it, but we say those can't block, and then we borrow the 5/6 here. Doesn't matter what I scry, we've got lethal on board. Alright. Put him to -3 there. Enemy of Enlightenment is a really weird card to do the math on of, like, how many cards you have in hand. Is your opponent going to draw a card before it dies, or are you going to draw a card and kill it? So that definitely confused me a lot there, because it was like a 1/1, so I'm like, well, no, I go to my draw step and then it dies, and then it's like, no, wait, no, mine triggers in my upkeep, so I discard a card and then it doesn't die. Regardless, Enemy of Enlightenment was basically just a blocker for our opponent there, so we just shut off the blocks, send in with the squad. We are 2-1 now. Well, we've got an altar here, so we have both of our colors. We can cast 2 spells turn 1, could cast Berserker and Heroes of the Revel. Seems solid. Thaumaturge is familiar as well. Hold up a Libation. If we want to hold that up instead, just a Soul Reaper of Mogis turn 1. I do not think that we want to hold up a Libation. I'm going to actually play my Scry before I do anything else here to see what I'll like to do next turn. Thrill of Possibility. Alright, well, we're drawing cards next turn, so that makes me less concerned with getting just maximum value out of everything I play, and more concerned with just curving out everything I have right now, getting as aggressive as possible here. So I'm not really worried about not getting anything from the +1 trigger on Berserker. Farrakha's Spawn, pretty good in this format, because the escape cost only costs 1. You do still have to exile 3 other cards, but if they escape it, then they can bring it back as a 5/6 and make me sacrifice something, although the 1/1 token is a great sacrifice option for us. Definitely discard some lands there. We can't Thrill of Possibility anymore, so that's a little bit rough. If I let them double block, they can kill one of my things, so I think we make them sacrifice a creature here. They sacrifice one of the 2, now I get to send in with these, and they can't kill one of my cards. And yeah, we send in these 3. I mean, if they block the token... No, I like keeping the token out for whenever they escape the spawn. So I'll just do everything in my power to make sure it doesn't just randomly die at any point. So, I mean, we miss out on 1 damage there, but now I play really well against Farrakha's Libation type removal and Farrakha's Spawn's escape ability. Enemy of Enlightenments. Well, that is going to be pretty big, because I have dumped out my hand, and the Warbriar Blessing to follow it up to fight something here. Traveler's Amulet. Ooh, Treacherous Blessing. Draw 3, make that Enemy of Enlightenment very small here. Got Thrills and a Portent of Betrayal. So Thrill of Possibility doesn't actually put me up a card. So enemy's just as big. Kind of want to see what I draw into. I think I'm discarding a land here, because Portent is going to be big to get a blocker out of the way. Another altar and a land. I could cast another Thrill of Possibility and a Portent this turn. I don't think it's worth making the enemy any bigger. We can just hold off. Yeah, I think we just attack with Heroes. Heroes is already big enough to just get in there. And their enemy's small enough I can just block it with my Thaumaturge's Familiar. Discard our land here. They have 7 cards in grave. They can definitely escape the Farrakha's Spawn now. And they are going to sacrifice that Traveler's Amulet, grab a land, grab another swamp here, so they can escape both of those. Woe Strider requiring 4 cards, Fairy Caspon requiring 3, so I guess they can't escape both, can they? Yeah, because Fairy Caspon would exile 3 and bring herself back from the grave, so that would be 4 cards gone. Now they only have 4 in grave, one of which is Woe Strider. They need 1 more card in their grave to bring Woe Strider back as well. The Lamphead of Death's Vigil is going to let them sacrifice whatever I target with my Portent. So that is not great. Although, we do still get to just kill something with Portent here. Yeah, if I target Fairy Caspon with Portent, they sacrifice it, or I get it out of the way for their blocks and we get to hit them. I think I just throw the possibility first. See what's coming up here. Final Death. That is pretty great. Think now I kind of want to play the altar. Portent the Fairy Caspon. If they sacrifice it, they sacrifice it. But if they don't, this is the only way I know I get to exile it, because they can't sacrifice it if it's on my field. Do like War Leader as a draw, although it's not as good once I've already done the Portent. I could also just exile the Enemy of Enlightenment and just get aggro here. If I exile the Enemy of Enlightenment, they gain 1, I lose 1. They've got a Woe Strider coming out. No, they're going to have tons of ground blockers, so I don't think we do that. I think we just attack with the spawn, get in for our 5 and exile that. Then we're going to discard our Oread. This might have been just a not great line to take here, because I think the flyer actually, if we have to dump all our removal out, the flyer gets really big. And that's a problem. They're going to chump block with the Lamphead. Cool. Yeah, now I think I'm cool to just exile Enemy of Enlightenment then. They just have a spawn, we just block with our 1/3, I guess, if they attack in, and then we crack back at them. Yeah, they don't have any sacrifice outlets out now, so we can just hold on to Final Death here. Use it on whatever we need to. Woe Strider coming out. So they can start sacrificing things to scry. Get rid of that flyer now. Nyllia's Forerunner is the play. We've got a Fairy Caspon out, no blocks. Drop our War Leader. And Treacherous Blessing's starting to hurt, but War Leader can sacrifice it, so we are done dealing with that. We've got 1 card in grave. They do get a lot of scry going on here. We are in a top deck war. Maybe should have pushed in for 1 damage with Thaumaturge's Familiar, but if I stack up Thaumaturge's Familiar as another blocker, then we can actually like kill Fairy Caspon on a double block, stuff like that. But and these cards do keep escaping, and that is going to just shred me. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 damage on the crackback. If I can't take it all. Yeah, we go for the kills here, I guess. But that is going to fuel their grave, unfortunately. Oop, not what I wanted to do. Looks like we're just going to get escaped out of this one. With powerful recursion coming from our opponent's deck. Well, we get lifelink here, so I guess I get to start attacking. Gaining a little bit of life, so I don't just like immediately die to Forerunner, but I still die to it in 2 swings. Whenever I block with Familiar, I stop 4 damage. Alright, well, we definitely have to block with Familiar next turn. Ooh, by making them discard with Aspect of Lamprey, we filled their grave perfectly for Farrakha spawn, so... I suppose we are just not supposed to cast Aspect at all there. The preemptive GG, as always. Could have drawn a Wrath effect or something. So we are taking 10 here, so that is game. Just a lot of powerful escape recursion there to win the War of Attrition pretty handedly. And that will put us to 2-2. Well, this hand is pretty unkeepable, I think. Almost a definite mulligan. This one we do get the Familiar to Scry one. We have War Leader out turn 1. This hand's definitely better. Not super pumped about Wings, although the Oread were also multiple mana away from discarding off of this ever. And Wrap is just like a late game ender. I'll get rid of a... well... get rid of an Oread. I think we're the farthest from wanting to cast Oread. Opponent starts with the Unknown Shores. We're going to start by scrying 1 and then seeing what we want to do after that. We do have that Swamp. We're going to keep that for the Rage Scarred Berserker. Definitely just drop down the War Leader here. I could cast a Wings of Hubris. I don't know if there's a reason to keep it in hand or a reason to cast it immediately, but I don't have the mana to equip it anyway. Looks like a Mirror Shield for free from our opponent, Soul Guide Lantern for free from our opponent, and they use that to draw a card. Let's get our Rage Scarred Berserker out. We get another point of damage in here off of that. Send in and make our blocker a flyer. This is definitely a game to show off what I don't like about the Unknown Shores in this format. If that were just a forest, they could probably have like Relentless Pursuited turn 1. But the Shores made it so they could only play their artifact stuff turn 1 there. Definitely cost them some time, which is huge in this format, where every turn is like tons of damage, as you can see. We've got Rapid Flames. I'm just going to play Scavenging Harpy here. Just not play too heavily into a Wrath. So our next creature is multiple creatures in one can, so even if they have a way to kill everything on our board, we can just get a couple creatures back out. And if they don't, Rapid Flames on any blockers they make should end this. And that looks to be game there. Definitely not a great hand for our opponent, unfortunately. The Unknown Shores start being rough and just some artifacts that don't do much by themselves. Multiple equipment like the Mirror Shields. The Relentless Pursuit even didn't seem to draw them into any creatures to cast. Just not a great time. We are 3-2 now. The turbo draft payout is the same as the quick draft payout, so in order to break even, get your 5,000 gold back out of this, you do need to get at least like 6 wins, I think, which is kind of insane. Don't know if we'll get there, but we'll do our best. 3-3 is perfectly average if that's where we end up, and that's the worst we could possibly do now, so not so bad. See how things go here. Round 6. Round 6. Alright, Thrill of Possibility, Treacherous Blessing. We got Heroes turn 1. So we got like a big creature to dump out, and then we have some draw spells to get to our black mana, and then once we have that, we've got a big draw spell. I'll keep it. We'll go for it. If they don't have any interaction, then our Heroes has some combos here. Heroes into Iroas' Blessing. Rapid Flames, stuff like that. There's the Thundering Chariot. We did see one of those in our draft. It is a free, like, 3/3 first striking haste scary thing, but I think it just gets blocked pretty easily. It just gets blocked by a 4/4 or 4/5 or anything. We're going to play the Heroes turn 1, because I would like to kill their Captivating Unicorn with Iroas' Blessing. Even if they have a removal spell to kill our Heroes of the Revel, like a Banishing Light or Dreadful Apathy, we can still use the Iroas' Blessing on our Satyr token at least and kill the Captivating Unicorn. They have a Triumphant Surge. Definitely a solid removal spell in this format. Instant speed, kills almost anything you need it to, and you gain 3 life. We draw into another Thrill of Possibility here. Would I rather just guaranteed kill the Unicorn, or draw some cards here? I could see playing the Treacherous Blessing here. Enemy of Enlightenment comes out as a 2/2 right now. Yeah, since I've drawn the Swamp, I think we will Iroas' Blessing to kill the Unicorn. Unless they spend a removal spell on our Satyr token. Omen of the Hunt. They do get to tap a creature whenever they play an enchantment, so that'll slow down our Satyr token. We don't get in for damage this turn. And now they're down to 2 cards in hand. I think I'd rather play Enemy of Enlightenment than the Treacherous Blessing now, because I already have plenty of other draw with double Thrill of Possibility. And I'm down to 13, so the life lost from casting things off of Treacherous Blessing is a little bit scary. Although we do have multiple War Leaders to sacrifice that if we draw into those. If they send in the attack here, then just make them show me whatever pump spell's in their hand. Trade a pump spell for my Enemy of Enlightenment. We have more than enough card advantage to draw into another threat of our own. Alright, and they dump out the Forerunner here. This doesn't actually seem much like a Rapid Flames game anymore. I think we're going to win by just having a bunch more cards than our opponent. I think I want to just discard Thaumaturge's Familiar. It's pretty low impact. And then I get to keep the rest of my draw power. Alter the Pantheon here. We'll discard a Swamp this time. Again, saving Treacherous Blessing to be the last draw spell we use, because the sooner we play it, the more life we lose in the grand scheme of things. Well, now I'll go ahead and scry off of Thaumaturge's Familiar. And I'll hold on to this Mountain to discard it to enemy. Unless I draw something off Treacherous Blessing. Well, another Thrill of Possibility? Yeah, I'll just cast Treacherous Blessing right now then. We'll just go off here, kinda. We've got Nyxborn Brute, Wings of Hubris, Thrill of Possibility. Do I play the land and discard Wings off of the Thrill of Possibility? probably just stop drawing cards now, because even if I draw into something, I don't get to cast it immediately, so it's not that great. I could see trading my Enemy of Enlightenment for their Nylea's Forerunner here, actually. Because we haven't hit a lot of creatures, so I'm pretty worried about my life total. I hit for 5 or I trade with Forerunner and take nothing. Yeah, with what I know I have, just like what's in my hand, I think I want to just hold off for blocks here. Well, it does not play well when our opponent top decks a removal spell. That means we're down to just the 1/3 blocker anyway. So lost on a bit of damage there. We only take 6 here. Although with Treacherous Blessing out, that is quite a bit. I don't know why they crewed instead of just attacking with the 5/3. I guess they don't know that my Satyr token can't block. We have to just take this. We're down to 7. There's the War Leader, so we can immediately sacrifice Treacherous Blessing, which seems great. I definitely want to do that. I don't get to play any more creatures if I do that, unfortunately, because my next creature costs double red. So they sacrifice Omen of the Hunt to scry 2 here. I think what I do is I just play a land and pass. I'm going to attack with the Satyr. Maybe I shouldn't because they're kind of considering it on blocks, but I'm going to do what's like the right play if our opponent realizes that Satyr can't block. So we play the land so that we can use Scophos War Leader to sacrifice Treacherous Blessing and then also cast Thrill of Possibility, discard Wings of Hubris. They don't seem to have like a ton of flyers or anything here. So Hydra's Growth definitely makes us want to draw into Final Death if they don't attack in this turn. If they do attack in this turn, we'll just trade it for War Leader. Alright, they don't attack in. Sacrifice Treacherous Blessing. And a Thrill of Possibility, discard Wings. But I guess we'll have 4 mana up, but 2 of that is going to go into casting Nyxborn Brute, so if we use 1 on Thrill of Possibility, then we only have 1 black mana up. So yeah, I think we still need to Thrill right now, get rid of the Wings. Rapid Flames and Rage Scarred Berserker. And there is a land, so we can give War Leader Menace if we want by sacrificing like Iroas's Blessing. And that way it definitely gets in for damage, but if I just buff it up with Rage Scarred Berserker, I think it's okay if they do a single block, because if they do a single block, then I can kill Rumbling Sentry, because then I can just sacrifice in response to their block. Because it gets +1/+0 as well, so it turns into a 6/5. Yep. Sacrifice the Blessing, that way we have 2 different sacrifices out of that. We can sacrifice the Blessing here and then sacrifice the Satyr at a later time. So we get one of their blockers out of the way and we've got quite a bit of potential attackers out. Holding on to this land for Oread, Thrill of Possibility type cards. We've cast all of our Thrill of Possibilities, but we still have an Oread in the deck, although I guess we did scry it to the bottom, I thought. Oh, maybe not. Maybe that was a different game. So there is the Oread. I can shut off their one blocker and hit for 5, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. It's not lethal yet. As long as we can survive blocks here, we can get lethal next turn off of Rapid Flames. So we just need to make sure we have... See, that's going to get 4 counters on it, so 5-3 with 4 counters is going to be a 9-7. 9, we need to hold back like 4 toughness at least. I guess I just hold back War Leader and don't sacrifice something here. Just attack with the creatures that would kill it. But if I attack with Nyxborn Brute, they can crew the Chariot and block with a First Striker, which is bad for me. I can attack with War Leader, and then I can trade my Satyr up to kill the Forerunner. So we attack with both of these. We hit for 19. And we hit them down to 19 is what I meant to say. I don't know what's going on with my brain today. My apologies. We're hitting for 9 damage, which puts them down to 14. Yeah, that's good enough to make Rapid Flames lethal next turn, so I think we just send those 2 in. Then we drop down an Oread. We have 9 toughness on the board. They have 9 power. So we should be able to survive through next turn, and if we do, just Rapid Flames to shut off Forerunner as a blocker. I guess they could still block with Chariot then, so it might not be immediate lethal. They have 1 blocker next turn if I Rapid Flames. So they would block the 7-3, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 11, 12. Alright, we don't quite have lethal, which is actually a big deal because the next plus on the Forerunner is going to make it have 8 counters on it. A 5-3 with 8 counters is a 13, 11. Math is hard. Math is crazy. I don't know what's been going on these past couple games, but my brain is mush lately. So hopefully we can get that all out of the way before the launch of Strixhaven, so I can do a deep dive into that format, get back to the competitive mindset. Double Rapid Flames. Well, that'll do it. I don't have my hero out, so I have nothing to do any extra... Get any extra power toughness here. So the only way I win right now off of the Rapid Flames is if they crew in response. If they wait until I go to attacks to crew, then I can't, because Rapid Flames is unfortunately a sorcery. So this thing's going to have 13 power next turn. I need to leave enough toughness to survive. They block Chariot onto there. 1, 2, 6, 11, 12. It is 14 if I sacrifice 2 things to the War Leader, but I can't sacrifice 2 things to the War Leader because then I'm stopping the damage those things would deal. So in order to survive 13, I need how much toughness? 7? I need more than 7. Oh, jeez. Guess I could discard Rapid Flames off Oread and hope for the best here. 5, 8. Just attack with 5, 4, and that. We'd have 6, 7, 8, 9 toughness. They're just going to take it. They're at 5, so they're dead like without a Rapid Flames in a million ways now. Now I am very tempted to discard this Rapid Flames to try to draw into a final death. But that's an instant speed card, so I can wait on deciding whether or not I want to discard Rapid Flames until I know that I'm dead if I don't draw it. I like leaving us open to being able to go for that if they end up with exact Cs. They do 4 damage here if I block with all my 3 toughness blockers. Oh my god. So now they do 5 damage. Still not quite lethal. Oh my god. Give me the final death, please. That is like plus a million, plus a million. That makes it lethal. We have 9 toughness to block with, but they have 17 power now. Just added another 4 to it here. We've drawn into the mountain off of the draw, so if they go for the attack, we are dead. I don't know why they wouldn't go for the attack, because if they don't, we have lethal on them next turn. But that seems like it may end our Theros Beyond Death Turbo Draft run. And that'll do it. So that was the Theros Beyond Death Turbo Draft format. Pretty weird format. I'm not a huge fan, to be honest. I think it's this weird in-between, between like a regular draft and Omniscience draft. And it's kind of like, I don't know, it doesn't shine as much as either of those because it is a strange in-between. So I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's still fun to like try it out, get a draft or two in there. But I think that'll probably be the one Theros Beyond Death Turbo Draft that I do on the channel. As always, thank you all very much for watching. If you want to see more of this content, just stick around right where you're at. I do draft nearly daily on this channel. Upcoming, we have several more draft formats. I'm going to be doing at least one Throne of Eldraine quick draft. We'll be doing another cube draft or two, and then we've got Strixhaven next week. So lots of fun drafts coming up in the near future. So I will be here for that very soon. So once again, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.